As I have recently made several videos refuting Feeneyism and discussing the historic Catholic teaching of the most glorious baptism of blood and also baptism of desire, I am now going to address the topic of the Most Holy Family Monastery. Most Holy Family Monastery is by far the most prolific and well-known promoters of Feeneyism. And Feeneyism, if you don't know, is the modern error that not only rejects the historic Catholic teaching on baptism of blood and desire, but they also assert that the historic Catholic teaching on baptism of blood and desire is actually a heresy. Most Holy Family Monastery's high-quality and engaging videos and other material have reached millions of people. Although they do say many true things on various topics, they are sadly in error on the topic of baptism of desire and blood. Upon discovering Most Holy Family Monastery's material a few years back, I initially became basically convinced of their Feeneyite position myself, with the asterisks in the back of my mind that I would need to look into the early Christian teachings on the subject for myself, as time permitted. When I did, what I discovered is that all of Most Holy Family Monastery's quotes that they use to condemn baptism of blood and desire fall into one of two categories. They are either quotes about baptism and salvation that do not discuss baptism of blood or desire, or they're quotes that actually teach baptism of blood and desire and are just being misrepresented or misunderstood to look like they are against the teaching. Furthermore, upon investigation, I learned that throughout the history of the Catholic Church, there have always been saints, doctors, councils, writers, canons, and official commentaries that have explicitly taught baptism of blood and baptism of desire. Conversely, baptism of blood and desire has never once been specifically rejected by anyone until the 1940s, much less condemned. For proof of these assertions, please see my videos, Feeneyism Buried by Real and Natural History, The Most Glorious Baptism of Blood, and Feeneyism Buried by the Council of Florence. All will be linked in the description to this video. Most Holy Family Monastery has an open invitation to publicly debate Brother Peter Dimond on the topic of baptism of desire. And because I am publicly refuting their position and now addressing the claims of Most Holy Family Monastery specifically, I wish to explain why I am declining to debate Brother Peter Dimond. It is not my intention here to flatter Brother Peter Dimond, but the fact is that he is a skilled debater with talent and experience and many successful debates behind him. As a monk, he and the brothers of Most Holy Family Monastery have lots of time and resources to put into preparing for and training for debates, whereas I am but a poor layman with a full-time job. Although I make YouTube videos about early Christian beliefs because I have been reading the early Christian writings as a hobby for about 25 years, I would no more be qualified to publicly debate Brother Peter than I would be qualified to fight Conor McGregor because I did martial arts for a few years back in the 80s. Both Conor McGregor and Brother Peter Dimond are out of my league. But the position of Most Holy Family Monastery on baptism of blood and desire is error. And I will now briefly address a post they made on X on the 22nd of November, 2024, that seemed like it might be attempting to address some of the arguments I put forward in my videos. They posted this quote from Pope Alexander VII and then said concerning it, "As we can see, just because some opinion or writing has not been specifically condemned, one cannot necessarily hold it as probable, i.e., as a plausible opinion, if the Church's magisterial teaching clearly contradicts it, end quote. Now, in my material, I definitely point out that literally no one has ever specifically condemned baptism of blood or desire. Here is why the above condemnation by Pope Alexander VII does not apply to the arguments made in my videos. If one were to make the false proposition that the flying spaghetti monster is an angelic being sent by God, and defend their false belief by saying that their position on the flying spaghetti monster has never been specifically condemned, that would be an error and an appropriate application of the Pope Alexander VII condemnation they quoted. Baptism of blood and desire is, however, an entirely different scenario than my hypothetical spaghetti monster scenario. The belief in baptism of blood and desire is not some hypothesis that has been cooked up and can only be defended by asserting that it has not been condemned. No, baptism of blood and desire is the unanimous teaching of the entire Catholic Church. It has been taught everywhere, always, and by all. Doctors, saints, canons, writers, commentaries, councils, and popes have all taught baptism of blood and desire. The fact that it has never, ever, not even once, been condemned is a very important fact. It's what's known as a pertinent negative. The fact that a doctrine has always been taught by the Catholic Church and never been condemned by the Catholic Church is the type of proof one would expect to see for a true doctrine. And that is why we know that baptism of blood and desire has always been the teaching of the Catholic Church and that Feeneyism is a modern error. Thank you for watching. May God bless you. And please subscribe to my channel and check out my content for continuing discussions of baptism of desire and other topics relating to the early church beliefs. And also the link to the Twitter post I am quoting is also in the description below.